Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to tonight's NFS News. We have plenty of news for you tonight, but first, we take a critical glimpse into a promising study showing how extra virgin olive oil may protect against Alzheimer's disease. In a 2017 study by Practico and colleagues, the researchers wanted to see if extra virgin olive oil could improve both behavioral and biological symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is an irreversible neurodegenerative disease. There has been evidence that a Mediterranean diet is linked to lower levels of Alzheimer's disease and might be protective against disease progression. Further, some in the scientific community think that extra virgin olive oil, which is a staple in Mediterranean diet, may be responsible for these protective effects. Other mice studies have shown improvements in Alzheimer's disease pathology with olive oil supplementation, but the mouse models used did not represent the whole picture of the disease. This study aims to find out whether extra virgin olive oil supplementation can ameliorate the behavioral symptoms as well as decrease amyloid beta plaques and tau protein aggregation, all of which are well-established hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. The researchers decided to use 22 male and female triple transgenic mice who exhibit memory impairment, amyloid beta plaques, and neurofibrillary tangles, and place them on either a regular chow diet or a regular diet with olive oil supplementation. Olive oil supplementation began at 6 months old, before the mice developed symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. The mice underwent 3 rounds of behavioral tests at 6, 9, and 12 months old, and then were euthanized on the last day. The brains of the mice were preserved for biochemical and immunohistochemical tests. The behavioral tests that the mice were subject to included the Y maze, contextual and cue fear conditioning, and the Morris-Water maze. The researchers also examined a variety of biochemical and immunohistochemical markers of Alzheimer's disease to see whether extra virgin olive oil supplementation was correlated with lower levels of these markers. So, what did they find? The mice with olive oil supplementation performed significantly better in these tests, suggesting that they had improved working and spatial memory. The biochemical results showed significant decreases in amyloid beta 140 levels in mice with olive oil. Immunohistochemical markers also found significant reductions in the amount of amyloid beta peptides deposited in the brains of olive oil treated mice. To further investigate why amyloid beta peptides were lower, they used a Western blot analysis to determine levels of amyloid beta precursor protein and its associated proteases that are normally involved in amyloid beta clearance, and they found no differences between the mice in these proteins. Researchers also looked at autophagy markers to find out if they played a role in the reductions of amyloid beta deposition. They found that, in fact, olive oil treated mice had significant increases in both HTG5 and 7, both of which are markers of autophagy, suggesting that autophagy is in fact responsible for the lower levels of amyloid beta. Next, they looked at how olive oil supplementation affected tau pathology, which is another hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. They found significant reductions in phosphorylated tau at specific amino acid sites, but total tau levels were not different between the two groups of mice. Immunoblot analysis showed reductions in P38 kinase levels and increased PP2A phosphatase levels in the olive oil group, which can explain for the reduced levels of phosphorylated tau. To assess whether there were differences in synaptic integrity between the two groups, they looked at synaptic markers and found significant increases in synaptophysin levels in the olive oil group. You might be wondering, how do these findings compare to other studies in this area? Well, there aren't any studies that use this exact mouse model to examine Alzheimer's disease with olive oil supplementation, but there are other mouse models of the disease that point to similar findings. A study done by Quoza and colleagues found significant reductions in amyloid beta and tau levels with corresponding improvements in cognitive behavior in the TGSWGI mice with olive oil supplementation. Also, Farr and colleagues found that olive oil improved learning and memory in a SAMP8 mouse model of Alzheimer's disease. So, although different mouse models were used in studying these effects, the results all point toward a protective effect of olive oil on Alzheimer's disease pathology. You may also be wondering what any studies in mice can tell us about humans, and you would be right to ask this. Although the findings of the study are promising, it is important to keep in mind that results may not be applicable to human populations, and further studies must be done in humans to examine what role olive oil plays in protecting against Alzheimer's disease. Secondly, the sample size was too small to draw any definite conclusions. The researchers only had 10 mice in the olive oil diet and 12 on the regular diet. Further studies, with larger sample size, and studies in humans are needed to truly make a conclusion. Limitations aside, the study provides support for a beneficial effect of olive oil consumption on various domains of Alzheimer's disease. Specifically, the findings show that olive oil can rescue behavioral deficits and synaptic integrity, and can decrease amyloid beta and phosphorylated tau levels. They also show that autophagy could be a mediating factor in amyloid beta clearance, which may account for the protective effects of the olive oil diet. This study highlights a possible role of olive oil in protecting against Alzheimer's disease, but no conclusions can be made until the study can be reliably replicated in mice. Furthermore, longitudinal studies on the impact of olive oil consumption in disease protection are needed to confirm these findings in humans. For those of you at home, adopting a Mediterranean diet has been shown to have many positive health benefits, and olive oil may play a part in these benefits. However, I would caution against consuming excessive amounts of olive oil and I would recommend a balanced diet, including other Mediterranean staples like legumes, fish, and nuts. This study, done by Practico and colleagues at the Temple University in Philadelphia, have gained tremendous popularity in mainstream media. Publications including USA Today, Forbes, and Science Daily have used this one study to tout the benefits of olive oil in preventing Alzheimer's disease. Generally, the media uses clickbait titles such as USA Today's "Extra Virgin Olive Oil Staves Off Alzheimer's, Preserves Memory, New Study Shows," to sensationalize the study, and they fail to address the limitations. I would be very wary to believe these articles without first looking at the facts. Thank you for tuning in to NFS News, and good night.